The goddess of victory smiles upon the strong.
Hello, sirrah, and welcome to another explanation video on how to use, and this time we'll be going over Nightmare, the second character that I just tend to use, and yeah, I'll say what becoming my most favorite, I would say, over the past few years since this game's been out. I was tempted to pick him up when the game first started, but I said, you know what, let me stick to the basics and let me stick to one of my favourites, because he just looked a bit complicated at the time, and I wasn't too sure about the new mechanics that they installed into the character, because I felt it was a bit too complicated for me. I felt that I had to be at least a good veteran player, because I didn't play SOULCALIBUR 4 or 5 when they really started to tinker with his, especially his revenge mechanic that they installed into him, where if you hit him with a light attack, well, he just literally sends you back. But anyways, let's get into a bit of explanation about him, and I'll be doing a two-part video. Don't know why I went into options there, sorry. I'll be doing a two-part video, basically describing it as the first video basically will be going over the defense, and I'll be calling that the I'll be calling it the resentment vid. So that pretty much, if I'm using the word resentment, I would be more of a defensive and also a more fort-based playthrough. So that will be going over like the defensive moves that I would use if opponent is coming at me with more offensive attacks. And then my second video will be going over the offensive moves of Nightmare, so I'll be calling that the relentless Nightmare vid. So when I say the word relentless, it will mean the way to go about attacking the opponent and being more of a rushdown. So let's get into I wanted to start off by going through the library and understanding the character. Now, I'm not going to go on and say read everything through about what this character stands for, because it will just be a bunch of words thrown about, but I will be highlighting the key points in this vid, so then the thought process starts to come about when you do tend to use this character. So let's see here. Nope. So we got boy Siegfried here and his weapon style. Now, one thing to note is that these two characters, Siegfried and Nightmare, they both have similar attributes. They're not fully the same, but the mechanics in Siegfried pretty much have, some of it have been carried over to Nightmare. And I think this is what the developers done when they've made Nightmare, and then when you de-strip him, Nightmare of his armor, you see Siegfried's face. It's to remind the player that Nightmare still operates just as similar to Siegfried. So in the rulebook, your assault on an opponent when using Nightmare has to follow the same rulebook, pretty much the same rulebook as Siegfried, just for the fact that they both carry a large weapon, and their movements are quite restricting. But just remember, at the end of the day, I see it as, and this is only a personal view, that Nightmare is definitely, once again, a more buffed up version of Siegfried, but they have taken the mobility, some of the stances away, and instead gave him, well, I would say they've increased some of his mobility moves, but have taken the stances away from him. So let's focus on Nightmare here. We're just going on to his profile. We're not too bothered about Soul Edge. We are going to look at gain my foot in here, right? Alright, cool. Alright, I got my foot in. So basically, we're looking at weapon and style, and we're looking at the style. Now, the title of this, it says his memories, but if we go back to Siegfried's weapon and style, it comes under self-taught. So with regards to Nightmare, when the title comes out with his memories, that should conjure up the thought process of the fact that he's only carrying over some of the moves that you learned previously as Siegfried, or moves that have benefited him. So I wouldn't say in terms of moves, but I would say in terms of the meaning of each of the moves, because at the end of the day, each attack given to each character in Soul Calibur is not only supposed to deal damage, but it also has a meaning to it. And there's a saying in the some of these fighting games, that every move must have purpose. Right? And I believe personally that every weapon move that you carry out, if it's blocked, it must have a purpose. What is the reason as to why you carried out that move, and let it have a bit of meaning. So even if it does get blocked, the purpose of that move might be just to even push back or create some distance, or even have the opponent at a disadvantage. So let's go over his memories, the key parts. So reading through the first bit of it, Soul Edge has been a part of many battles, and the blade carries within it the memories of those who wielded it, so, and those who faced them. Alright, fair enough, we're not interested in that. So, okay, so a quote here: "This alone makes those who oppose Soul Edge tremble with fear." So with regards to the character, the fear part is shown in a lot of opponents that come to face this character when online, because of the fact of they know of the pushback they will get if they were to mess up on their assault on Nightmare. Just down in a bit of water. See here. Cool. So the writer has now swapped the roles of the narrative, and now is put into this perspective of the opponent. and is now stating, when facing Nightmare, one must never forget that he is able to at least partially unleash the power of the sword. If he does, be prepared for a blow designed to kill in one fell cut. I could have said one fell swoop, that would have been much better, but anyways. So with regards to that statement there, you are looking at the fact that each attack carried out by Nightmare will do significant damage, and even if you do block it, it will do damage to the defense bar when it, you know, when the bar starts flashing yellow, red. So each attack coming out of Nightmare is doing damage, whether you like it or not. So with regards to the opponent is not going to be looking to defend as much. They're going to be trying to look to move around a bit to save some of their health defense bar as well as their health bar too as well. One thing you can gather from this statement here is the fact that it's going to take at least a couple of sword swings to drain one's health bar. So the opponent will be looking to at least dodge most of the moves or counter most of the moves. And their strikes will be more calculated, so they wouldn't just throw out an attack. You'll be talking, this will be referred to most players that have been around with this game. So you're talking like your C ranks, your B ranks, your A ranks, your S ranks will definitely be able to read this guy. Cool. If we move on to the next statement about Nightmare, the souls of those struck down and devoured by the sword are like books that get added to the blade's seemingly never-ending library of fighting styles. Is there anyone who can stop the river of blood this sword leaves in its wake? So not much reference I can gather from that. But the main focus on this gathering is the fact that it's the middle statement here. If he be prepared for a blow designed to kill in one fell cut. So that middle statement there is what you need to be focusing on in your thought process. Cool. Oh, I'm also discovering here a few other bits as well. One statement here as well that we need to start looking at here is the fact that Soul Edge takes the form of its vessel's preferred weapon in Siegfried faces Srihanda, or Srihanda, I must have murdered the name of it. This is so it can push its owner's power to the limit to better claim the blood of souls it craves. So that's just basically telling how the how Inferno has just chosen to shape the sword in Siegfried's preferred fighting style. Right, so we've gathered our bits from Nightmare. I would also like to gather some bits from Siegfried, since they're pretty much the same character. So when I say these characters are both the same, or pretty much in the same books, it's the fighting style, right? So what we've gathered from Nightmare is the fact that his blows will strike some decent damage, but there's still a few pieces of the puzzle missing, so we're going to go over some bits from Siegfried that might able to fill the gaps on terms of how we use Nightmare as a character when going online. So we're going over the self-taught segment. Cool, so starting to gather my points around. I'm liking this one here. You might be fooled into thinking the style required to swing the sword is all power. However, it's actually quite subtle. The blade's great weight can be used for both offensive and defense, while slight changes in the wielder's stance allow for giant moves with minimal movement. So in terms of Nightmare's case, he will still have to carry over the defensive tributes, because even though he's gained a boost from Inferno, he still has to count to the fact that Inferno still has a human body. So there's still limits. So the limits are that he still has to carry over some Siegfried's natural ways of fighting. So Nightmare will have to at some point be on a defensive. He can't just go rampantly attacking your opponents, because then your opponent will just read you as you are. I'm just looking for the statement that is the key winner. Right, so in terms of the fighting style, we got here the strikes Siegfried employs are designed to crush more than cut, and can make mincemeat of armor. Those foolish enough to think they can seize victory if they get in close will likely find themselves swept up in a series of carefully planned movements and strikes, all leading to the attacker's inevitable demise. So with regards to that statement there, the line that Reed points out is carefully planned movements and strikes, all leading to the attacker's inevitable demise. So with that, keep that, because that also can carry into Nightmare. your movements with Nightmare have to be carefully planned, and the strikes as well. And it states that all leading attackers will have an inevitable demise. So that means that in terms of Nightmare, even though he's more aggressive, he is still, I would say, considered more defensive. Not more defensive than Siegfried, but he still has the defensive attributes of Siegfried. So a full-on assault on Nightmare can be a bit dangerous, a bit of play risky. So to use him safely will most likely be using him in a defensive way. But that doesn't mean he falls in Siegfried's Siegfried's full-on category. It just means that I see Siegfried as more of a castle, where you position in one place and he can control that kind of area where the opponent is, and dictate where the opponent needs to move next. If the opponent's thought process is weak and they have fear. But in terms of Nightmare, I wouldn't describe him more of a castle type. I would describe him as more of an advancement type. So everything is just going forward. All his stances, I would say, are aimed to push in one direction, without second guessing. And I would say that each sword swing will need at least a good 90% effectiveness, or a 90% absolute conviction that you know what you're doing. So with regards to that, I would say you must have some sort of plan whenever you're facing someone. Cool. So if we go out of here, and I just want to go over one of the weapons in Nightmare that I just like to use, and the story behind it, because even though it might not have some significance, there might be some hidden factor as to how to use Nightmare when describing this weapon. And we should get to it soon. Oh, nope. Ah, that's it. Balmung. I think I've said it right. The sword of a hero said to have slain an evil dragon. It is sharp enough to cut through I think that should have said wyvern scale, but we'll call it Wyvern scales. Its beauty lives up to the praise headed upon it in legend and song, though one can only hope that another part of its story is not true. When the blade has a new owner, the old owner's blood has been spilled. So yeah, that's quite a famous sword in some mythology around the world. But anyways, let's get into some of the defensive moves. Okay. Alright guys, so we're now going to go through training mode, and I'm just going to pick a customized Nightmare character.
Soul of Nightmare.
And who is it? Who's going to be the crash dummy for today? Say Siegfried. Cool. And we'll be practice seal chamber. Right, so Here we go. So we'll be going over the defensive parts of our nightmare. When I say defensive, you'll still be able to deal some damage, but your thought process and your assault is going to be calculated. So there's not going to be a purpose to attack the opponent, but rather carefully land your blows, and also, even if it's blocked, the purpose of each attack is carried out, or your understanding of each attack is carried out. So I am moving the character now as I am. I'm going to stop with the quick moves that I just like to use. We're just going to go over the basic moving around of him, and as you can see, not much mobility. You can run up to people, fair enough, but stepping side to side, it's not the fastest, and even going back is a bit of, you know, it's just a bit slow. But yes, you know, that is what you get with him. Whenever I think of playing as Nightmare, I honestly see him as, in my definition, a warrior fighting style. Could resemble that of nothing really supernatural, but I'll just say that of a relentless slayer. And you think to yourself, but why is it that you call it a relentless slayer, Rajan Slayer? The strikes are carefree, like that. And odd bit of fighting style that is not, I would say, common to a knight carrying a weapon. They're more barbaric. I mean, like this. That's barbaric. Grabbing an opponent with your own hands. Not the kick, but like that. Because you think as a knight he'll only be using his sword, but no, he's using his fist, using kicks, charge attacks like that, like a stamp. All there. So then there's no care in how to fight. It's just like full freedom, and there's no law behind him. So yeah, I see him as that's how I interpret him, as a relentless slayer. But that's only my interpretation. But let's get into some actual fighting, and stop me from talking stupidness. So I'm just gonna highlight some moves, and then I'm gonna go over into the process. So the moves that I'll be looking at here is a vertical, so we go with right, yes, you want to do Shadow Buster lower stance. Right, now this move here is a start up to a good defense, I would say. It is a bit slow on start up, so I wouldn't say make this the bane of the start of your defensive, but I would say make this like add this to your to-do list when you're in battle and you want to carry off defensive. So with that hold, what you want to be doing, and if we go into it, what you want to be doing here is the fact that you've just interrupted the opponent's thought process. Once they get hit by it, even if they block it, I wasn't meant to do that, even if they block it, that's fine enough. But what this has done And if we show you, just a bit more closer, look, I have just pushed him back. So from here, what you want to do is go into this stance, right? So what you've done is that you've created some distance. So let's go over it here. That and then start. No, sorry. That and then stance. That and then stance. Right. And what you're doing is that you're creating creating the distance, but also setting yourself up to analyze the opponent. Now the opponent could either step to the left, carry on blocking, or proceed to attack you, given the fact they've just gotten hit. And now they could do a vertical, and if they were to do a vertical, you can carry on into this move. I'll say that's the best thing if they was to do a vertical. But always judge the distance. Now if we go to that and then we go back, the opponent might do a horizontal. Given the distance, I would prefer you to do this. Now what this has done is the fact that you've hit him horizontally, but also you have paused the opponent's assault. Not only you pause the opponent's assault and hit him with a mid, the character also can go under the horizontal, given the right distance. Right? Apparently in some tutorials I've heard that if you get by the tip, do this move. I would say be careful of doing that, but for a good guarantee, good guarantee, push that. If you manage to get hit, kick. Just kick. If they're that close, if they're that close, just a kick. Just kick. Cool. So I've done a couple of moves there, but I'll just go through the move list. So that was Shadow Buster, and then I did, let me see here. Shadow Buster, I did Shadow Buster, and the Shadow Buster and Night Lower Stance. To get into Night Lower Stance, no, to get into Night Side Stance, you had to have been in Night Lower Stance. And to get into Night Lower Stance, you had to have done the Shadow Buster. The horizontal move that I did was Soul Biter. Right, that's the move. So Soul Biter. So when you do Soul Biter, Night Side Stance. So those are the moves there that I've incorporated in the defensive. What you also want to do, you can do, is another setup for defense, is to do this move, which I will now show. So you want to do this, and then that, and that. So basically, I show you again. You want to do this move, and then go up, and you could either do this or nope. Or this. Alright. So moves incorporated into that would be is the midnight launcher that goes into night behind stance, and then from night behind stance you want to go into night side stance. So from night behind stance you go into night side stance after doing that blue lightning attack. And the significance of that is the fact that when you did the blue lightning move, not only you hit the opponent, or if you didn't hit the opponent, you've created distance. Now you want to create even a little bit more distance by doing that. And if you not quite noticed, when you were in that blue lightning move and you took a step back, that's actually almost a whole move, like a whole step back move. So with this case, when the opponent is still coming at you with the attack, there's a chance that one of his attacks will not hit because of that transition into here. Because the computer could actually miss you during the opponent's assault, and that opens you up to either doing this or this. Right? Some people would like to do this because it's, you know, it's quite addictive, and it's just, you know, a press of the top button or whatever D-pad it is. But when you do that, it's a sacrifice of lunging forward, which requires distance, and you may not have that distance. So it's up to you how you carry on from here. But just remember, I pushed him back, and now I'm going to give myself some distance. Alright. So we've gone over 2 ways in which Nightmare can be used somewhat defensively. Another way, which would be this move here. Now this is when the opponent is close and you feel uncomfortable. Right? And with this move, right, you need to notice the fact that the opponent's animation, and that is one thing to look at. The fact it's different from that. Right, this move here has also not gained pushback, but the character, there's a delay. So when it comes to the opponent trying to retaliate, they would be a few, I would even say, frames behind. So from there, you can transition back. So I'll go that, that. Right. The name of that move would be the... Let's see, nope. The Jade Slicer. So do a Jade Slicer into the Knight back stance. There we go, that, that. And then you can carry on to do that, or that, and that. I've had times where I've done this and then able to go back and carry out like that. I'll say your chances of that working is the fact that if the opponent chooses to poke after being hit by that move there, because then they are being pushed back, but they think that you'll come closer, but instead they miss out on an attack. Cool. So we've just gone over a few defensive moves there. Well, a few defensive tactics there. I'm trying to remember here now. There's one more way that I go about defensively, strategically defending myself. Is this move here. Right, notice I did it once. If we go to the move list, we will find out that is called the Male Crusher, which requires you to hit it twice, to hit the A button twice. Right, with that tutorial there. What I'm asking you, the viewers, and my fellow travellers and squires and potential slayers, is I'm only asking you to do it once. Now, if it hits, still good enough, still good. But what you want is for it to be hit by the opponent. Now, if it's hit by the opponent, the thought process is disturbed, from my view. Once it's disturbed, you can go ahead and transition back, right? Because then they might feel threatened, so they could retaliate. And when they do retaliate, just remember, if we go at that again and go back, you just gained an extra step back, so the move they carry out might miss, and you can carry on to do that move or this move. Alright, you could also, if it gets hit or blocked, carry on to do the jaded move, which is that. So we go that and that. And then from there, you can carry on as normal, or that, and just step back, start making your way back. And I'll say these are some of those right there, some of the safest to do. I believe I have just gone over some of the defenses in which I carried myself forward. And yeah, that's how I've been operating for quite a while now. Go on. Hold that. Hold that. Hold that. Hold that. Hold that. Hold that. Yeah. So guys, oh yeah, and of course. Oh. That. So yeah, we've gone over some bits and pieces in terms of how I want you to carry yourselves forward, my fellow squires. And I'm now just going to show you a few bits as to why I have carried out these defensive moves in my previous gameplay as evidence. And yeah, just sit back and watch the some of the run-throughs.
Battle 1. Fight!
So thank you guys for watching, and I will be releasing part 2 of my explanation, and we will be going into the relentless phase of Nightmare. Thank you for watching. Have a good day, weary travellers, squires, slayers, and swordsmen, and survive. And I will see you next time. Well, I won't be seeing you next time, I'll be speaking to you next time and echoing the message of the Slayer.
What do you hope to accomplish?